All right, so as you have seen that we have highlighted those predictors or features that had significant impact or significant relationships with insurance, right? With the insurance amount paid. And the R squared is, so we have adjusted R squared or the R squared. So the R squared here is 11 or 12 or 14. So in this case, let's use the adjusted R square or actually the regular R square. So we will just highlight both of them. All right. So now this is what it tells us, that the significant predictors of insurance amount paid by patients is invoice paid, variable, and also the office visit, right? So that's using Microsoft Excel using regression. Multiple regression. Now let's use Orange. So for Orange, we can just open Orange and then just open a file, and then let's navigate for the file where we save this file. So let's say it is in my desktop and I called it query 2. All right, so query 2, that's the one that I am interested in. And in this situation, let's see here. Let's start by, since we started with the insurance amount, predicting or estimating insurance amount, let's start using Orange for estimating insurance amount, and then we will move on to the next one or the first one. So now I already have sheet query number 2, and I need to change the role here for insurance from a feature, means a predictor, into a target. And then I will apply and close this guy. Now we can actually, one question that I might ask you in the exam is to rank the importance of the features. So this is what we call it, feature reduction process. So you can use the rank widget here, then double click on it to see which, using R relief F, to see which variable is important in our model. So visit month seems to be important. So question here, if I ask you which feature is more important using our relief, then you know how to answer this guy, right? So very straightforward. Now let's start by you can do some visualization if you want to, but let's move on to modeling. So since we are predicting a continuous variable, I will use linear regression as one of the machine learning algorithms and neural network, because in the question I might ask you to use at least 2 machine learning algorithms. So I'll use those 2 guys, and now let's evaluate. So test and score, under evaluate, connect those guys to test and score, and then I will need to connect the file to test and score. Now it is processing. Now I can go ahead and look at the R squared. So as you can see here, the R squared for neural network is 12. So which is very close to what we did here, either 14 or this 12. So it is exactly as adjusted R squared, 12, right? Right, so we look at the R squared when our target variable is continuous variable, so we can say that neural network is performing better than linear regression. Okay, so now let's say that I asked you, I give you a scenario to predict a new model. So to predict a new model with that scenario, so you will need actually to copy the title. So control and add a new sheet, and then just type the title of the Excel sheet, the title here, and then just give it a meaningful name. So let's say here predicting, I'll call it predicting insurance. All right, and then let's say I give you a scenario. I told you what would be the estimated insurance if the invoice was paid, that means 1, and the invoice amount was, let's say, 200, and yes, it was an office visit, and the age was 22, and the visit month was November, and yes, it was a walk-in. So insurance, I will keep it blank because that's what I'm trying to estimate, so I'll keep it here as well, so it should not be a problem. All right, so now I will make sure that I keep saving this file. That way when I refresh Orange, it will read it. So I'll go back to data. Now I will browse or for the sheet that has so I'll just go back and let's say browse to desktop, query to. All right, now I will navigate and select the predicting insurance sheet, and I will not do anything, so I'll just close this guy. Right now I need to go to evaluate, and I will drag and drop prediction, connect this guy, my new file or new patient that I want to predict based on the learning that the machine has done based on my training data. So now let's see what will be the estimated insurance using neural network. So neural network telling me that the estimated insurance will be paid is $23.20, right? So for this particular patient with this criteria, right? So this is very straightforward, and that's how basically machine learning works and prediction works. We feed it with historical data, we train the machine with historical data, and then we create that prediction model. Then we can be easily able to predict use future data to predict that particular variable. So now let's move on to the next question. So I will delete this guy, and then I will move on to the next question, which is classification or classifying whether the patient will have their invoice paid or not. So whether they will pay their invoice or not. So I want to classify all new patients, whether they will pay their invoice or not. So to do that, I will just go ahead and upload my file. So I'll just make sure that I have that same file. Now I need to change or to make sure that based on the scenario, what they want me to classify, invoice paid. So that's my target variable. Invoice paid, role is target, and then apply. Right? Same thing now, I can do the ranking. If I asked you when I am classifying whether the invoice is paid or not, which feature is more important or the most important, using our relief, for example. So visit month, Gini, it is the invoice amount, right? So you can answer that question easily. Now let's use use modeling. Again, since I have classification model, I'm classifying binary variable or categorical variable, so I can use logistic regression, and then I will use neural network, and I will connect those two guys. Now let's evaluate. Test and score. I will connect those guys. Alright, so now it is processing, and for classification we are interested in classification accuracy. So which one has more or higher classification accuracy? In this case, logistic regression, right? Alright, so now we can move on and see other things that we can I will not go into more depth because you can take analytics courses where they will go through the confusion matrix, the true positives versus the false negatives, false positives, and so on, right? So that's basically here, but I will not ask you questions about this, right? So this is what we have here. So those are the true positives, those are the true negatives, right? And those are the false negatives, and those are what we call them the false, those are the false positives. So you get the idea here. And those are, so you get the idea now. I will just leave this one for another class. So we didn't talk about it in class, so we will not talk about it for now. Now let's say that we are interested in, I gave you also a scenario to predict a new patient based on particular information. So the same thing, what I will do is I will go to query. So I asked you to, let's say, give you a scenario, and I asked you to predict whether this patient will have, oops, what did I do here? Will pay their insurance or not. They will, they will, let's see. So they will pay their invoice or not. So let's see. So we have a patient here. Okay, control. And then, all right. And let's say that the scenario I gave to you, let's say this is what we are predicting. So I will leave it blank. So invoice amount, let's say it is 200. Yes, it was a visit, office visit, and the age was 22, and the visit month was November, and yes, it was a walk-in, and let's say the insurance amount was $23. Okay, so I'll save this guy, and I will rename this sheet into invoice paid classification. All right, so now I will save this file, and then I will go to Orange, navigate. I will navigate to my query 2 file, and then I will select the correct sheet here, invoice paid classification, and I will leave it as is. Close this guy. Now let's predict new. Let's evaluate. So I'll need to predict. I will connect the file to the prediction, and then I will connect. Actually, we said logistic regression is the machine learning algorithm that is performing better than a neural network. So now, based on my model, it is saying yes, it is going to be this person or this patient will pay their invoice. So now we can rest assured that this patient will pay their insurance. So that's all that I really wanted to cover with you. Just kind of, if you want to double check, this is actually, we did this one here. So again here. So that was all that I wanted to cover with you today. And I know that you will do really great in the exam. You have done really well in this class, so keep up the great work, and you will do very well. So good luck to you again, and I will see you next week.